What's up, my comic comrades? I don't know about you, but after Wakanda Forever this past weekend, we still got Marvel on the brain. So today we're gonna look at the 10 best Thor fights of all time. No, he has nothing to do with Black Panther, but we really want the MCU to fix Thor, so here we are. Also, Thor's had a butt ton of incredible battles over the years, so it's gonna be fun to give you all our favorites. So with that said, let's get started with number 10. First up, we have Thor's first confrontation with Beta Ray Bill, which went down in Bill's first appearance in the Mighty Thor issue 337. They would come to face one another after Nick Fury sent Thor to space to check out a spaceship he thought was a threat. Turns out that ship was Beta Ray Bill's ship Scuttlebutt, and once Thor breaks into the ship, Bill and Thor start having an epic battle. A battle in which Bill gets the upper hand, eventually taking Thor's walking cane, which was Mjolnir in disguise, and unintentionally smacks it against something, turning it into Mjolnir, which Beta Ray Bill was able to wield, granting him the power of Thor. This made Beta Ray Bill the first person besides Odin and Thor himself to wield Mjolnir. But this wouldn't be the end of their epic confrontation. Odin would eventually intervene, as Bill thought he fairly won Mjolnir, but Odin was like, "No, you defeated my son when he was a mere mortal," after dropping his hammer and turning back into Donald Blake. So now both of you will fight weaponless with all enchantments removed for the right to wield Mjolnir. The two then have another epic fight, both stripped of their powers. A fight Beta Ray Bill ultimately wins, but in the end he doesn't feel right taking the hammer. Odin realizes Bill also needs a mighty weapon to defend his people and thinks him noble, so he makes Bill Stormbreaker. Now, though Thor didn't win any of these fights per se, this confrontation remains one of the most iconic Thor battles of all time, and for good reason, as it introduced Beta Ray Bill and Stormbreaker. Next up, we have the time Thor fought Sentry in the Siege storyline in issues 3 and 4. Basically, Sentry was going buck wild and destroying everything, being the OP character that he is. You see, in the story, he's Norman Osborn's attack dog, basically, and he alone goes up against the entire Avengers while he says to them, "How many gods will I have to kill today?" Needless to say, Thor doesn't take too kindly to this and charges him, blasting him with lightning from his hammer. But it does nothing to Sentry, as Thor looks in shock, saying, "Odin's eye." But Thor is not giving up. He's the god of thunder. So he charges Sentry again, saying, "You've chosen the wrong master and you've chosen the wrong battlefield. And for that, I must smite you down with all the power at my command." But when he goes to hit Sentry again with his hammer, the void is unleashed from his back. As Osborn gives the command to Sentry, saying, "Don't let them win. Bring it down. Bring it all down, Robert. Don't let them win." So he blitzes Thor and single-handedly destroys all of Asgard by flying through it with the power of 1 million exploding suns. We just see the void fully unleashed, hovering on the last page of issue 3. Then in issue 4, we see Thor continuing to attack Sentry along with the other Avengers. Thor then throws his hammer through Sentry, but to no avail. Eventually, Thor brings down the lightning on the void, saying, "You took down Asgard, demon. Now I feel the power of my father and his father before him." But it does nothing yet again. Sentry is basically mocking Thor and his powers, and he proceeds to rip Loki in half. In the end, Iron Man uses a helicarrier as a bullet to smash Sentry into the ground, causing Sentry to snap to for a moment back into his normal Robert self. Thor then walks up to him, saying he will live to see penance for the death of my brother, for the fall of my home, for the betrayal of all the Avengers. As Robert turns into the void yet again, Thor finally brings down all of his might, his thunder, his lightning, and disintegrates Sentry, taking his body and then throwing it into the sun. After saying all that, hopefully you now understand why this is on the list. Next up, we have the time Thor fought Superman in JLA Avengers issue 2. That's right, if you weren't aware, the two Titans fought back in the 2003 JLA Avengers crossover. In the crossover miniseries towards the end of issue 2, we see the Avengers and Justice League at odds with one another in the Savage Land as they are just meeting each other for the first time. Long story short, Thor and Superman start sizing each other up, with Thor saying, "Thy think most highly of thyself and the Justice League, but now thou shalt feel the wrath," as he swings his hammer at Superman. But Superman just flies up and then punches Thor to the ground while saying, "A god, you say? A small god, perhaps, of a small world." The two then trade punches to the face as Thor starts swinging his hammer around, saying, "You are strong, but the measure of any man or god is not what strength he has, but what he does with it." Superman then uses his heat vision, blasting Thor in the chest, saying, "Tell yourself that, mister. Ease yourself to sleep at night while you let your world go to hell. Where I come from, lives matter." Thor is able to fight off the heat vision, charging Superman, saying, "Arrogant, sneering jackal, do thy best, Thor will not fall, but thou shalt," as he swings his hammer again at Superman, but Superman just catches it in the palm of his hand, saying, "You won't." Thor in shock says, "Odin's beard, how can you?" Superman says, "Sorry to disappoint, but in my world, it looks like the dial goes up to 11. As he punches Thor so hard, he knocks him out, defeating him. While standing over his body, Superman says, "He may be the toughest opponent I've ever faced." Now, yes, I know, this is yet another instance where Thor didn't necessarily win like the Beta Ray Bill fight at number 10, but it's an epic battle nonetheless. I mean, it's Superman versus Thor. It had to be on here. It also gives us an official answer that Superman stomps Thor. Don't get mad at me, Marvel and DC DC obviously agreed that Superman wins. At least back then. Thor has gotten some crazy power upgrades recently. At number 7, we have Thor versus Silver Surfer. Anytime these two fight, it's awesome. However, with that said, we're going to focus on the one time they fought in the Mighty Thor series from 2011, specifically issues 2 through 5. In the story, Galactus is coming for Earth once again. Obviously, Thor isn't going to let this happen. So in issue 2 of the series, he comes into confrontation with Silver Surfer, chucking his hammer at him, saying, "I'd not threaten Asgard again, unless you wish to die here." Then in issue 3, we see Surfer retaliate with a blast of the power cosmic. But Thor just blocks it with his hammer and lightning. As the two continue to trade blows, the fight is ultimately stopped when Odin arrives. But don't worry, the two continue to fight again in issue 4, this time in space. And it is yet again a stalemate, although when Thor knocks Galactus on the side of his head with his hammer, Surfer says, "That hurt even me," as they land on Mars and continue to fight, with Thor telling Surfer, "Silence," as he brings his hammer down, saying, "Do you want to die on Mars? I have no problem killing you on Mars." Then in issue 5, Surfer blasts Thor with a massive energy blast of power cosmic. And he yells, "Are you finished?" Where Thor just says, "I'll kill you for that, Surfer," being unfazed. Thor then throws his hammer at Surfer, sending him flying into rocks. But the fight is yet again stopped when Sif arrives. The point is, this epic battle demonstrates that Thor's godly power and hammer is on par with the power cosmic, which is absolutely insane. Next up, we have the time Thor single-handedly defeated the Mangog and Thanos in Thor issue 25 from 1998. For those of you unaware, Mangog is one of Asgard's and Thor's greatest enemies. It's supposedly said to be the manifestation of the unending fury towards Odin and Asgard, born of the combined hatred of 1 billion murdered beings. With that said, it's easily one of the most powerful of Thor's enemies. In the issue, Thor defeats Mangog by shoving his hammer in Mangog's mouth and then unleashing the Anti-Force down his throat, saying, "Drink." For those of you who don't know, the Anti-Force is the power to focus and manipulate anti or negative forces against your opponent. And Thor did that right down his throat. But if that's not enough, he goes on to beat and amp Thanos over and over with his hammer until he falls. Just pure god-level brute force. Needless to say, Thor gets to work in this issue. And while we're talking about dope battles, who doesn't like a great card game battle? Well, we've partnered with Upper Deck once again to bring you their super fun versus system 2PCG. Their 2-player card game allows each player to build a deck of characters, plot twists, locations, and equipment to try to defeat their opponent. Each player starts with the main characters such as Spider-Man or Thanos. During the game, you'll play resources, recruit supporting characters, and play plot twists to enhance your team or hurt your opponents. Your main character will earn experience points and level up to dominate the battlefield. Finally, you'll KO your opponent's main character if things go your way, that is. But maybe you've never played the Versus System 2PCG and you're not sure where to start. Well, look no further than the Versus System 2PCG, the Civil War battles. It's the first issue of a 3-part Civil War story arc that focuses on a conflict between Captain America and Iron Man. It makes for crazy fun gameplay and it's a perfect starter box. You can get the Versus System 2PCG Civil War story arc at upperdeckstore.com and start building your Marvel decks today. Just click the link in the description. Next up, we have every single time Thor has fought the Hulk. The two have fought more times than I can count, and in almost every instance, it ends in a stalemate as they are two of the strongest heroes in comics. And every time they fight, it's always an awesome matchup. Like in 1952's Journey into Mystery 112, The Incredible Hulk issue 300, The Defenders 10, The Mighty Thor 385, Immortal Hulk issue 7, 46, and 47. And then most recently, the two have waged war in the Banner of War story arc by Donny Cates. And it's probably the most epic battle yet as Thor turns into a Hulk and Hulk wields Mjolnir, possessing the power of Thor, giving us a Thor Hulk fighting a Hulk Thor, and it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. At the end of the fight, Marvel confirmed that Thor has been holding back all these years and is in fact stronger than the Hulk, as seen in the issue. But the main point is, anytime Thor and Hulk fight, it makes for a fantastic battle. At number 4, we have the time Thor battles Gorr and killed him. It all goes down in the God Bomb story arc, which starts in issue 7 of Thor: God of Thunder. In summary, Gorr continues time traveling in the story and reveals to a young Thor that he built a weapon that will destroy all the gods in the universe, a God Bomb. Eventually, he sets off the God Bomb, but Gorr's son, which is actually a construct made of all black the Necro Sword, turns on his father. At this point, the son's prayers, along with every other surviving god through time praying for Thor, allowed him to absorb the God Bomb's blast and wield all black himself, as seen in Thor: God of Thunder issue 11. Oh, and did I forget to mention, if that wasn't enough, present Thor is also wielding his Mjolnir as well as his future self's Mjolnir, so he's got 2 Mjolnirs and all black at this point. Thor then looks at Gorr holding both hammers and wielding all black, saying, "It's not your weapon anymore." It laughs at you, Gorr. Its name is All Black, the Necro Sword, the Slicer of Worlds, the Annihila Blade, and it was meant to be wielded by a god. But you were right about one thing. Gorr says no, give it back, as Thor says it was also meant to kill them, as Thor blasts him with energy from both hammers and All Black. Insane. I know. Then a few pages after this, young Thor slices off Gorr's head, killing him once and for all. Honestly, I wouldn't fault anyone for putting this higher on their list. It's incredible. Making its way to the top 3 is the time Herald of Thunder Thor, aka King Thor, imbued with the power cosmic, fought Beta Ray Bill in issue 3 of Donny Cates' Thor title. In the issue, Beta Ray Bill basically confronts Thor saying, "I know this isn't you, brother, and I will have my vengeance on Galactus for corrupting your honor. He has taken my people's home, he shall not take you as well." But when Bill attacks, Thor literally just backhands him down to the planet below, while calmly saying to Bill, who is slowly standing up, "I possess the power of a Herald of Galactus, as well as the powers befit of the Allfather of Asgard, all added to my own. In the past, you and I have fought and been equal. This will not be that. Go now. Please, do not make me." But Bill refuses to back down, which leads to an amazing battle between the two friends. Thor then throws his hammer at Bill, but he catches it, refusing to give it back to Thor, forcing Thor to call Stormbreaker to him, and when he does, he walks over to Bill and shatters Stormbreaker over Mjolnir, leaving Bill defeated and broken, as Thor says, "Do you believe me now? I told you, I warned you." For me, this is one of the coolest Thor battles I've ever seen. I mean, he shattered Stormbreaker over Mjolnir, destroying his good friend's hammer. It's an instant classic. Next up, we have yet another moment from Donny Cates' Thor title from the God of Hammer storyline, specifically Thor issues 22 and 23. In the story, Thor's hammer has become sentient and infected by the Mangog. Because of this, Mjolnir has betrayed Thor and is attacking him, his friends, and loved ones. Long story short, towards the end of the story, Odin sacrifices himself to give Thor the full power of the Odin Force at the end of issue 22, causing Thor to get yet another extreme power boost. Then in Thor issue 23, we see a fully Odin Force-powered Thor battle his sentient hammer. He blasts Mjolnir over and over with the Odin Force, weakening it until ultimately he quite literally brings the hammer down, shattering Mjolnir and beating it once and for all. And the story ends with Odin's soul now enchanting Mjolnir. It's an incredibly awesome fight with an even better story. And spoiler, this entire top 3 is Donny Cates, so let's move on to number 1. And our number 1 Thor fight of all time, which became my number 1 the moment I read this issue, is from yet again Donny Cates in Thor issue 6. Now, you may be asking, what makes this one so special? Well, I'll tell you, my comic comrade. In this issue, not only does Thor kill Galactus, he then turns him into a bomb to also kill the Black Winter. That's right, Galactus imbuing Thor with the power cosmic was the biggest mistake he ever made, because King Thor was already incredibly powerful as he possessed the powers of the Allfather of Asgard, his own powers, and then Galactus just boosted that even more by granting him the power cosmic. Power cosmic Thor became so powerful, he literally stripped Galactus of his power cosmic, and then says, "On behalf of the countless planets you have destroyed and laid bare, in your wake, I sentence you to death," as he throws his power cosmic imbued hammer into Galactus's chest, killing him. But then the Black Winter shows up messing with Thor, but he's not about that. So Thor turns Galactus into a bomb with all of his newfound powers to blow up and destroy the Black Winter. If you don't know why this is so crazy, well, 1, Galactus is the devourer of worlds, one of the strongest entities in all of Marvel, and Thor just soloed him easily. Galactus couldn't even put up a fight. Then he proceeds to use Galactus's body as a bomb to blow up the Black Winter. The Black Winter is even more powerful than Galactus. You see, Galactus is the devourer of worlds who has his own heralds like Silver Surfer. But the Black Winter is the devourer of universes, and Galactus is his herald. And Thor killed him, utterly insane, which is why this fits nicely at number 1. And that wraps up our list of best Thor fights in history. So now it's your turn. Let us know what you think the 10 best Thor fights should be down in the comments. First up for the week of November 16th, we have Gunslinger Spawn issue 14. Gunslinger's time in the present day has gone from bad to worse. Now enemies from his past have decided to ally themselves with some of his newfound acquaintances in order to rid the world of Gunslinger once and for all. Here we have Deceased War of the Undead Gods issue 4. Nothing is what the heroes of Earth thought it was. The shocking truth is finally revealed as the fate of all of existence hangs in the balance. Now we have DC vs. Vampires All Out War issue 5. Betrayed and out of options, the pitiful remnants of the team head back to a bleak and desolate central city for one last Hail Mary. Next Next, we have Something is Killing the Children, issue 26. With the last person in her corner gone and the Order of St. George closing in, Erica finds herself totally alone and without a prayer. And finally, we have Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 9. Batman and Superman are on a quest to train the mysterious new hero, Boy Thunder. But what's that in the dark? It sounds like the Joker, and he's got his own plans for a superpowered sidekick. And that's gonna bring today's episode to a close, but if you enjoyed this video, check out this one right here. And if you like all of our content, like, subscribe, and comment, you know the deal. But other than that, I'll see you next time when I talk about all things comics.